Pocket Hours is brought to you by Scout Real Estate. At Scout, we're doing things differently with our focus on legendary service and creating a community of producing agents to spur each other on to do higher quality work while keeping the clients at the center. Come see how it feels to work with a small group of committed brokers with the shared goal of upping their game. For more info, please contact Jennifer Nelson, founder and owner of Scout, 206-227-7966, or jennifer@scoutrealestate.com. I'm so happy to have you on Pocket Hours. Thank you for doing this.
Oh, Jennifer, thank you. It's great to reconnect.
Same. Gosh, we've known each other for quite a while now. I don't even know. Has to be like 10, 12 years, something like that.
I think probably in 2007, 8, something like that.
Yeah, quite a while. Quite a while. Oh my gosh. So Connie, you are on Vashon. How long have you lived on Vashon?
28 fabulous years.
Wow, 28 years. That's amazing. And how many times have you moved since being on Vashon? Are you in the same place?
We built our house here 22 years ago.
Okay.
So before that, we were living in a couple of houses that we built like spec houses, moved in, moved out, and another one or two in between. So a few times.
That's so cool. Wow. So you are the Vashon lady. That's what I know. Every time I think of Vashon, I think Connie Sorensen. That's what's going on there. Exactly.
Well, this has been my territory all the time. So most of my business comes from here. And I was doing officing COVID style before COVID. So I've worked in my home office almost the entire time that I've been in real estate.
Okay. Right on. So tell us a little bit about you and your family, pets, kids, grandkids, all the things.
Yeah. I'm a mom. I'm a partner. I'm a grandma to 5. And I'm an islander. I love island living. So we've got my husband, who's built many, many houses on the island, came out of retirement during 2020 and started construction on a home for our daughter and her family just down the street.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
So literally we're at the end of a long lane and they can walk down to our house once they get a little bit older by themselves. But you pass the sheep, you pass the horses, you pass the pond, and it's picture perfect, really. It really is.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
How fun. And how cool of him to come out of retirement. Of course he's going to, right? For your daughter. Yeah. He's like, this is important.
He's had Parkinson's for a while. And as he said, I'm doing a full-time job in a part-time body, but he did it. We made it. It's wonderful. We are in and out of each other's houses every day. Our daughter cooks meals for us many days a week. And it's what you would consider kind of that intergenerational living. And then my sister is around the corner. My husband built a house for them not long before or after ours was built. So we're all in this little section of the island. And it's just, it's nice to have that family support and that connection.
No kidding. Talk about ideal. There's a little idyllic setting there for you. You've made that. You've created that. So good for you. That's really cool. So before we get on other real estate questions, how does the fact that your husband is a contractor play into your business? I mean, I'm sure that impacts it a lot.
Even now, because he's not really quite capable of going to on sites right now, but all these years and, I really just kind of shut the door at people insinuating conflict of interest or anything like that, because I looked at it this way. I want my clients to get the best knowledge, the best connections, the best relationships with King County. And that is my husband. And so we really worked with clients back and forth all those years. And like I said, even still, in his retirement, it's not unusual for me to put the phone on speakerphone and say, okay, this is the septic as built. This is where it's located. What do you think? And, it's really amazing. And he's recently finished construction. So, he's had those recent connections with the county again.
Yeah, that's incredible. What a benefit to people there. And I know and this is why, referring out to Connie for anything Vashon is smart, because it's a whole different animal over there. I mean, there's different things that come up on the island that over here on the mainland, we just don't have to do very often or have to practice or know about. And not only does she have the 28 years of experience of doing it, but also a husband to boot that just, is a contractor and can answer some of those questions that come up about island property and island living. That's cool. That's awesome. So cool.
Yeah.
So Connie, what drew you to real estate? How long have you been doing real estate, by the way?
24 years. Really, what drew me to it was my husband had entered into the field of general contracting. He was working with a small island-based brokerage here and trying to find pieces of land that he could develop speculatively and just kind of get his name out there, in developing his business. Very enthusiastic owner broker just kept telling me, you need to get into real estate. You need to get into real estate. And my background is social services, nonprofit social services. I think I worked a sales job until noon one time and left at the lunch break.
Not your cup of tea. Okay.
But what I really came to find out is that real estate was so much more like social services than anything else. And it paid better.
No doubt about that. That's so true. I love that you just said that because people really relegate real estate to sales. And it's such a funny thing because sales has a bad rep. But in the end, boy, is it so many more things, right? Way bigger.
So much more. And, it's got all the components that I loved about nonprofit. When I was in college as a freshman, I took this course and they have you do this, survey thing. And it came out saying that I would excel in nonprofit. I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. Where the overlaps are is one, you really get to work with people and you get to help them. That's the main thing, really. Mm-hmm. And in nonprofits, I had moved away from that because I was always in management. And now I'm just managing people, and I'm watching them help people. And, it really is not the same. But the marketing, the creativity about being marketing in a nonprofit, you're always under resourced. So you're always having to partner and come up with, great ways to get exposure. And then contracts, in my realm, I definitely had a lot of big contracts that I managed. And so the contract management of things, is an overlap too. So
for sure.
To me, it was a great fit, surprisingly so. I didn't quit my day job though.
Okay.
I didn't for about 6 months after I got my license, but then I was up and running and out the door.
And interestingly enough, I think that's a wonderful sort of segue for listeners on the call that are saying, we're thinking about real estate. We're scared to jump in because, right, it's a commission job. And there's some rationale to say you've got to have a little bit of money in your bank to be able to pay your bills. They say up to 6 months of your income. And also sort of the transition is okay. But don't let that transition take forever because then you're never really all the way into real estate, right? It's the people that are, running the two jobs is a tough gig and your clients know it because you're not all the way invested. So yeah, that's great.
I don't really think there's a way to do it part-time. I mean, not in my perspective. I think it's very, very challenging. It's a flexible job. It may look part-time to people from the outside, but they're not there when you're at the computer at midnight or
true.
Doing those things.
So tell me a little bit, if you could talk to your beginner self again in real estate, now that you're 24 years in, what would you say to those that are listening in that are saying, I'm thinking about real estate or I'm a couple years in, to give them some advice?
I have thought about that a lot because I've got my daughter who's going to join me here soon and another friend who my daughter's finished the classes and the other is working on it. And so I think first and foremost, I would say to go to a ninja installation. I wish that I had had that from the very beginning. I landed with Carla Cross and up and running in 30 days. And I think that is a fabulous training as well. But I think beyond that, I would really say stick with the basics. It's about people. It's about staying connected with people. It's about, good follow through. It's about lead generation, but lead generation mostly in your spheres, so really getting out there, being social and following up, picking up the telephone and, definitely staying in touch with people and not spending a ton of money on marketing
Mhm.
things. Realtors are honestly, we are always being pressed to find the next shiny marketing object
That's so true.
and spend a lot of money. Quite frankly, it's just not really even all that necessary,
Mhm.
especially now with social media. And if you can really get in there and create really great content and engagement on social media, I think that can truly drive your business with the people who love you, like you, trust you.
Yep, so true. And for those of you that are listening that aren't aware, the Ninja selling installation she's talking about is a company out of Fort Collins. Larry Kendall started it years ago. And I've been to a lot of trainings, and I know you have too, Connie, and that's the best one I've ever been to by far. And it is an installation. It's 4 days, 3.5, 4 days. Hopefully in Fort Collins, I would recommend going there
I
to
agree.
take it. Yeah. And it instills in you sort of these patterns and habits of the things you need to do, the Ninja 9, as they say, to build your business as a referral business and not be, as Connie just suggested, sort of swept away by all of the solicitations that we get daily from companies that are saying, hey, give us 500 a month and we'll send you, 100 leads, of which none turn out to really be clients. So yeah, that's great. Talk to me a little bit about sort of do you have someone that does social media for you? How does that work?
I do. I changed brokerages. I did the COVID pivot in 2020. I knew I was going to investigate changing because my daughter coming on and wanting to make sure that, I was with the brand. I was with the same brand for my entire career, but that I was with the brand that was going to take us and her for the duration because, I've just never been one to jump brands very much. In doing that, I made the decision to start delegating. And so at that point in time, I hired an inside transaction coordinator. And then I also signed up with a marketing team who really predominantly helps with the social media, does the social media. And I do my own as well, but also can help with other aspects of getting a listing up and running. Which, as you know, you hit the pavement with the listing, and you need to have so many things in place to amplify the marketing.
Yeah.
And so I did that, and working on continuing to find those things that I don't do well or I don't have time to do, even if I like doing them,
Yeah.
and the things I don't like doing, and delegating that out so that my business can continue to grow, particularly with bringing on new people to the team.
That's fantastic. And something you said, Connie, just resounds with something Denise Lonis said. Those of you that don't know, Denise Lonis Group, kind of a guru real estate person. And she said, you can't be good at everything. And so realizing what you're not good at and sourcing that out is incredibly important. And again, for those of you that are new on the call, you could say, I don't have money to do that yet. That's okay. But as soon as you have some sort of consistent income going, figure out what things you love, because that comes through in your work, and delegate the rest, right? Because you need that ability to be really investing in what you're good at and having someone else do something they're good at that you're not good at. Yeah. Okay. That's
Yeah,
great. That's great.
exactly.
So tell me a little bit about, this is kind of the vulnerable question, but what's hard about this business for you?
This doesn't feel so vulnerable to self. In some ways it does, and I think it kind of echoes back to my my social service background. But what's hard for me in this business is the market volatility that we've had for so many years. So with that, it's a lot of extra work on our parts, and also a lot of cheerleading when it may be hard, psychology, helping people keep themselves lifted. But I think the hardest part has been the fact that people are now at a place to where so many can't afford housing
Mm-hmm.
and or rent. The prices are just so sky high. And even for those who can, they're paying a pretty fine price, not just dollars, but everything they have to give up in order to position themselves to win the house. So I think that imbalance that we've had for so many years has been the hardest part. I like working independently. I don't need anyone to drive me. I love not having a boss. So those things really don't bother me. A little bit of being a lone ranger because I have been associated with the non-island brokerage for, well, since like 2007. I have great relationships with colleagues. It's not the same. The coverage, having someone cover you and when you're on vacations. And so, but I have learned to pretty much put a deal together from anywhere. I've
Yep.
done it on my boat. I've done it in Mexico. I've done it in the
Yep.
car.
Mhm.
I'm very good with the tech tools and I'm good at responding quickly.
Pocket Hours is brought to you by Scout Real Estate. Hi, I'm Jennifer Nelson, owner at Scout Real Estate. I started this firm with the vision of doing things differently, with our focus on legendary service for our clients and creating a community of producing agents to spur each other to do higher quality work. If you are interested in learning more about how a small group of like-minded brokers have come together to have some fun while doing a lot of business, reach out to me, 206-227-7966, or email jennifer@scoutrealestate.com. I promise you this, fun is a high priority for me, but so is winning. So if you appreciate those two things, you might be interested in Scout. Looking forward to hearing from you. You have a great deal of success in this business. You've done really well. Congratulations.
Thank you.
If you were to say 2 or 3 things to people listening to this call, maybe there's somebody who's 5 years into the business listening and they're saying, how do I up level? What do I do to change it? Because you can probably remember, Connie, a time in your career when you were sort of leveling out, plateauing, and then a time when it turned the corner and it became, okay, now I'm actually really good at this and I'm making a really good income. What do you attribute that to? What are you doing that's making that difference?
I would say there's been a couple of times in my career, and I'm in one right now, where I'm seeing a real trajectory in the productivity, and definitely a time where, it slumped, which had to do with health. I had cancer in 2017. My husband was also diagnosed with Parkinson's in late 2016. So that really, took some wind out of the sails. I did partner with my daughter in 2018, and we did a year-long campaign, a marketing campaign that she really put together and executed. She said, we just got to make sure that everyone knows you're still out there. Because I was very open about, my cancer, because I really believe people need to hear about it for themselves. So I would say consistency is really a big part of staying in the game. I've known lots of people that have come and gone.
Yeah.
I mean, some have even re-entered, and I've just consistently kept putting one foot in front of the other. I'm always, always looking for surrounding myself with people who are better than me, and coaching to some degree, but masterminds for sure. Really just trying to keep pushing the envelope. I'm an innovative person. So for me, I'm always wanting to level up and push the industry really to raise the bar. For example, pre-listing home inspections, which have become very common now due to the market conditions, but I've been doing them for 15 years,
Yeah.
And even at the time when the brokerage I worked with, didn't want me to do it because of disclosure and liabilities and things like that. And I feel like, those are, I don't know if that answers the question, but to me, those are some of the things that I turn to when I think about the longevity.
It was really cool to watch and see you navigate your cancer publicly. I think it humanized you. I think sometimes our clients sort of think we're make a bunch of money and hardly work and, are always healthy and have all the kinds of time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And really this is we're human just like you. And by the way, I have cancer too, right? And so I just think that was really neat. And I appreciated your candor on that. The other piece of that I think is so critical for listeners that I'm going to just re-say, which he just said, which was awesome, which is that consistency of every single day. This is your job and your career. And so if you treat it like a career, you will get paid like a career. But if you're sort of like, hey, I'm going to try this for a couple of years and see if it makes the kind of money I hope it does, you'll likely not make it. So for anyone on the call that's wondering if they should stay in the business, I would say 98% of the time, the answer is yes. You just need to keep putting one foot in front of the other.
Absolutely. And I've counseled different realtors. I can remember sitting in open houses and brokers open, there's no one there. And just, oh, Connie, I just don't know. And I said, you've got it. You're great. You do well. Just keep at it. Just keep
Mm-hmm.
at it.
Mm-hmm.
And they do, and they stay in the business. And
Yeah. The other thing
mhm.
you mentioned, which I think is important too, is the concept of training. We talked about Ninja a little bit ago, but you talked about Mastermind, which is Brian Buffini's group. Highly recommend his stuff. But just this idea of saying, if you're going to continue to get better and better at this and have better results, you have to invest in learning more about yourself, number one, but also people, like reading people and learning new strategies of doing things, being innovative, like you said. So dig into that training, right? Have a
And
budget.
even without spending the money,
Yeah.
depending upon your brokerage, I know our brokerage, we end up forming a lot of informal groups of mastermind, if you will. Like I've got one right now that's solo to team. It was an offshoot from a company sponsored Mike Ferry training. And now it's a group of us from all over the nation that are at different levels. And it's great because it's scary. Honestly, the
Yeah.
idea, I mean, you started your own brokerage for crying out loud, I mean, twice now, right?
Twice now. They'd say that's the definition of crazy, I think. I don't know.
It's great because there's all different ways of doing it, all different ways it looks, so being able to talk with others and realizing that you have so much more common, you have the same fears. And even those that look so shiny and perfect, they've got a story.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Totally. And they're willing to tell it. Realtors really are great people. They're
Yeah.
I'd say on the big scheme of things, they're very likable. Most of them have ADD, I think, and
So true.
and they love to share,
Mm-hmm.
love to
Mm-hmm.
help. And so
Yeah.
I think if you find your people in that scenario, it's worth its weight in gold. And I really believe that other realtors, particularly the ones that you do a lot of business with, are your customers first. They're your first customer because we are going to do one or two transactions, or I guess two or three transactions with the same client, if you will, but we are going to work over and over and over again with local realtors.
So true. Wow, that is an incredible point. And again, listeners, if you can rewind that part and listen to it again, because recognizing that your reputation in the industry is as important to your success, and by the way, to your sellers and buyers' success as any other part of the
Absolutely.
business that you do, right? So when you encounter that jerky agent out there, you have to remember how you handle yourself is whether or not your folks are going to be successful at buying or selling that house. And their behavior is just merely a reflection of whatever's happening in their life, probably at the time. And they're probably doing the best they can, given the work that they've done personally on themselves. So hard to keep that in focus when they're acting poorly. But the longer you're in this industry, the more you recognize how important that is. So awesome point. So Connie, tell me a little bit about something strange that's happened to you or funny or weird in your 24 years in real estate. I've asked every person to come up with something like, well, we walked in and somebody was in the bathtub, or I don't know, like something strange that's happened in your career. Do you think of something right off the top of your head?
I can. It's a little bit of a story and it's not strange or funny, but it's my favorite real estate story.
Okay, great. Perfect.
So it's kind of woo woo,
Okay. I love
but
woo
I'm
woo.
I'm kind of woo woo. So I'm working with an older couple from Snohomish. This was years and years and years ago. And it's back in the day when you have pictures on the wall to see the houses because we did very little electronically and on the web. And so they were here looking at houses, and she had this extreme bad headache, but came and did it anyhow. And so we're looking. We come back to the office, and she said, "Oh, Connie, I just know my house is around the corner." And she looks on the board and she says, "What about this house?" And I said, "Okay, Anita, that's a great house. I don't think it's a house for you, but I'm happy to show it to you." So we get in the car and we drive out to Dockton, which is the south end of Maury Island. And as we're turning the corner, we see a
Uh,
for sale by owner sign. And of course, everybody's eyes go up when they see for sale by owner because there's something that nobody else knows about, right?
mhm.
And she sees it, we see it. And I said, "That's fine. We're going to come back to that. Let's go to our scheduled appointment and we'll come right back to it." So we did. We went. I said, "You guys sit in the car. I'm going to knock on the door." So that it's a house right on Dock Street, historic Dockton, where there were shipyards back in the early 1800s, I think it was. This house was, on the kind of on the point, bad condition. We're sitting in the car and she says, "Oh, this is my house." Now, granted, these folks are in their 60s at
Wow.
this point. They
Hmm.
had restored a historic home in Snohomish. And I said, "Okay, let me go knock on the door." I knock on the door. The guy answers the door. I introduce myself. He tells me his name, and his name is Sunfeather Light Dancer.
Wow. Okay.
Well, what went through my mind was great. I'm going to be dealing with someone who I have no idea if they're positioned in this realm on earth or not. And and so we walked through the house. She had every, hair on her body was just in lot, just
Standing up.
completely up, standing
Yeah.
up.
Hmm.
And then I found out that he had to buy 2 acres out of a chunk of like 80 acres of a forestry land in Oregon. And thankfully, there was a realtor on that end. I mean, the contingency was they couldn't buy it unless he got that deal put through.
Wow.
And he had to stay on site for like 3 months. But it all worked out. They turned it into a gorgeous home that's been on the Master Gardeners Tour 2 or 3 times. Real cool thing is Anita's background was art history and she's Croatian. And that area was first settled by Croatians.
Hmm.
And the house that she bought was a boarding house at one point in time. And her grandfather had worked in that shipyard.
No way. Oh, that's so cool. I
Yeah.
love it. That
So
is a cool story.
to me, that's one of my, and they're one of my favorite people, but one of my
Yeah.
favorite stories.
No kidding. Gosh, and isn't it cool that our career lets us meet people like that, right? And be
Mhm.
a part of those big stories. Because I mean,
Exactly.
that's definitely one of the rewarding parts of what we do. So cool. Thank you for sharing that. So for our listeners, if they say, "Okay, Connie, we like you," because everybody likes you, by the way.
Aw.
We love, by the way, where's your accent from, Connie?
Texas.
Yeah. All right. I knew it. I knew it was in there. What would you say to a person to say, if you could focus on one thing today, what would you say to focus on in your career?
In the business related part of things, I would say, first of all, make sure that you take your time first in the morning. So, time blocking
Mm,
is incredibly important. And start with yourself. I start with gratitudes, with affirmations. Then I take time to look at my schedule before I do anything. Of course, coffee. And I'm still drinking my coffee. So,
good.
that to me is the critical. They say in Ninja, work on your business in the morning and in your business in the afternoon. So, first things first is take care of keeping business coming your way. And then really make sure you get all the details handled and see properties and do all the things you need to do to do your job.
Yeah, that's great. Some of what Connie's alluding to is just that pipeline stuff that many realtors, I think, live on that roller coaster. When they have clients that are buying and selling, gosh, they're on a high and they're working directly for those people, showing properties, closing listing. And then when those close, they're sort of twiddling their thumbs saying, "Wait, now what?" But the ninja way, and sort of what Connie's talking about, is to say every day, you work in the morning on your business. You contact those people that are in your database, etc. And then that way, when your other closings close, right, you have new business that's coming your way. So that's great.
Hmm.
That's really great.
Hmm.
So Connie, if you had a crystal ball, let's pretend, and you could talk about the next 12 months in real estate with what's going on now, where do you see the market going?
It's already starting to make a shift. I expect it to continue to be seller advantaged. It's been that way for quite some time, and I think it will take a while for it to not to be. But even though buyers have lost some buying power in the interest rates, at least those that are kind of entering into the medium price homes, I think they're gaining a little bit of power in the process, I guess. And so I kind of think and hope that we start shifting to a little bit more balance. I do think it's going to continue to be seller advantage, but we were seller advantage long before COVID. and you didn't have to give up your firstborn child to buy a house,
So
at
true.
that point. So
Yep.
that's what I'm hoping will be in the future.
Anything else, Connie, that you could see or want people to hear from you before we wrap up?
Working in a market like real estate is exciting because it is real time. You really see things, what's happening globally. You see what's happening, economically in the job market. It can be exciting because of that. It can also be frightening, because of that. Your mindset is all that really matters. And if you just keep doing your thing day in, day out, stay educated, understand what's going on, be proactive, but just realize that all of that's on the periphery and you just keep moving forward.
I love it. I love it. Connie, thank you so much. There has been so many pearls of wisdom in this, and it's been fun for me to interview. And I know it's been fun for our listeners to hear from you. So thank you for being on Pocket Hours.
Thanks, Jen.
Thank you so much for listening into Pocket Hours. I hope this has been interesting, fun, made you laugh, made you think, spurred you on to do and implement some new things in your business. I appreciate your time and hope this has been a good use of it, period. Now, go be the agent you would hire.